Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Friday, March the 13th. I'm Andrew Gagan. The local market is set to fall at the open, with ASX futures off by around 1/3%. Global equities were sharply lower overnight, with oil prices surging to their highest level in nearly 4 years as Iran intensified its attacks on oil and transport facilities across the Middle East, while the country's supreme leader has vowed to keep the Strait of Hormuz shut. On Wall Street, the major indices fell heavily, with spiking oil prices unnerving investors amid heightened inflation fears. And Wells Fargo saying it expects new US economic projections to be released next week will shift in a stagflationary direction. Well, shares of US energy companies rose, tracking crude prices higher, and agricultural fertiliser firms, which also rely on shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, advanced on surging prices. The brokers have cut the price target on US airlines after jet fuel prices jumped around 50%, which will squeeze airline profits because fares were set assuming cheaper fuel. Chemical companies advanced following a Citigroup upgrade on new export opportunities arising from supply chain disruptions in the Middle East. Shares of alternative asset managers slipped after Morgan Stanley limited redemptions at one of its private credit funds, while JP Morgan Chase has restricted lending to private credit providers after the bank marked down value of certain loans in the firm's portfolios. The dating app operator Bumble jumped after its fourth quarter revenue guidance came in above estimates, while discount retailer Dollar General slid following its disappointing annual comparable sales forecast. Well, in his first public statement since becoming Iran's supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei has vowed to keep fighting and to keep the Strait of Hormuz shut as leverage against the United States and Israel. He also called on Iran's neighbours to shut US bases on their territory and warned that Iran would continue to target them, saying, "I assure everyone they will not neglect avenging the blood of your martyrs." Well, in response, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a veiled threat to kill Khamenei, saying, "I wouldn't issue life insurance policies on any of the leaders of the terrorist organisation." Meanwhile, the Trump administration is considering waiving the century-old Jones Act for a limited period to ensure energy and agricultural shipments can move freely between US ports. Under the Act, goods shipped between US ports must be carried on vessels that are US built, flagged, and mostly owned by US companies. Well, the 2-year US Treasury yield has hit a 6-month high as Iran ramped up its attacks on energy and transport targets. It rose more than 11 basis points to 3.76%, the 10-year up to 4.27%. The Australian 3-year government bond yields are around 4.58%, the 10-year at 4.98%. The US dollar index is up around 0.5% on the day. The Aussie has fallen close to 1% to 70.8 US cents. The International Energy Agency estimates that the Middle East war will slash global oil supply by 8 million barrels a day this month, or almost 250 million barrels in total. It says flows through the Strait of Hormuz are down by more than 90%. Well, Brent futures settled at $100 a barrel, up more than 9% after touching a session high of close to 102. Gold has fallen close to 2%, weighed down by a stronger US dollar and fading hopes for further rate cuts. Spot gold close to $5,060 an ounce. And copper fell. Iron ore has surged more than 3.5% to $110 a tonne amid rapidly rising global trade costs. And Bitcoin is little changed. It's currently above $70,000. That is your day ahead. We'll see you again on Monday.